Hello everyone, I'm day weather meteorologist Don Day with your Public Lands Council weekly weather update for this November 16th, 2024. It's being brought to you by Ag Risk Advisors and WSR Insurance Services Incorporated. As we look ahead, we'll see that the western U.S.'s weather is going to be cold, windy at times, a bit unsettled, but it looks like the major weather system in the upcoming week is going to be in the northern plains, the Midwest, and eventually the Great Lakes. The storm system will bring some precipitation to some parts of the western high plains, a little bit of snow to the Rockies, but the heavier part of the storm going to be more centered into the nation's midsection. This will allow colder air out of Canada to come in, making it kind of blustery and colder. But overall, the general trend in the forecast is looking to be not as unsettled. It's just going to be colder and more windy. Wet in the Pacific Northwest for another week, as the Pacific Northwest will catch moisture and energy coming off the northern Pacific, but those storm systems will be kind of hung up there, at least for the next 7 days or so. If we take a look, rewind, the past week, as we know, brought huge amounts of snow to parts of Colorado and New Mexico. There's a lot of that snow still on the ground in east central areas of Colorado. And we did see some badly needed moisture reach eastern Wyoming, western Nebraska, western South Dakota that really needed it. More heavy precipitation down here. When we take a look at the snow over the last 14 days, very impressive November snowfall totals. The latest drought monitor has shown improvement, especially, well, where you would expect it, to where we saw the heavy precipitation with last week's storm. The drought monitor in the last 2 weeks, where you see green, drought conditions have improved. So along the path of that storm, over the last couple of weeks, the couple of storms that have moved through has really brought big improvement into those areas there in the last week or so. So good news. In the last week, you can see the cold where the snow still sits in eastern Colorado, cooler than average in the desert southwest, while the rest of the nation and Canada, another warm fall week. Now, what we see in the week ahead is this. There will be a storm system early in the week coming out of New Mexico and Arizona, then curving up into the northern plains. So there's going to be quite a bit of rain, and on the backside, some mountain snow. On this storm system, this is going to be mostly rain in this area here as it moves out. Although for North Dakota, eastern Montana, they could catch some snow and wind, and much colder air will come in on the backside of this system along with wind. But you can see across the central Rockies, while there will be some mountain snows, there won't be a lot going on. But look at the Pacific Northwest getting wet in the northern California there as a persistent flow of cold, moist air comes into the Pacific Northwest over the next week or so. This will lead to temperatures like this, coldest in the far west, warmer than average in the central and eastern United States, but this doesn't show real well some of the colder weather that could come early in the period, especially into these areas here from the northwest. So it is going to be colder than it's been, but on the whole, temperatures still above average over a lot of the nation's midsection. Snowfall looks like this over the next 7 days. The Great Lakes getting into the action in parts of the Northeast for the first time this year. And you can see here, this snow could end up further south and west than it's showing, but we need to keep an eye on North Dakota, northern Minnesota, and eastern Montana for some wintry weather. More snow in the Pacific Northwest with that pattern keeping the storms coming in off the west coast. That's how it looks over the next week. Have a good week ahead. Our next update will be on the 23rd.